Well, Legends of Runeterra is back, and with it, some new stories. Even though these days they are holding a little bit back, just so they don't introduce another Grey Legion, and to make sure that everything is in line with the canonical universe, they still give us some really cool lore drops. Last time they filled in the story of Kael's missing mother, and this time they are filling the story of Sett's missing father. I'm starting to see a pattern of missing parents. And because right as the cards dropped, I got spammed with people who really wanted me to cover them, I'm back, which means let's have a look at all the new stories from the cards of Glory in Navori. Also, everyone should know that Navori is a region in Ionia, that's why it's called Navori, but to the cards. So, even though the new cards may not seem like much at first sight, there are actually some really cool details hidden here. The three new champions added in are Samira, Jack and Sett, and all three of these have their little stories that meet in the middle. Samira is the simplest one. She is a mercenary and she was sent to Ionia by her agent Indari to simply collect some debt. Of course, if you don't remember, Indari is the person who gets Samira all her jobs. However, Indari is also secretly working for LeBlanc. That is partially the reason why you can see all the roses around Samira. It is not just because Samira is called the Golden Rose. It is also because all her equipment is linked to the Black Rose, even though Samira herself doesn't know it. Indari is keeping her connections to LeBlanc away from her. In any case, as you'll see, Samira was sent here to collect some debt, even though it is never specifically mentioned who she is collecting it from. Her first level says, "I'm always running up some mark who ran up debts he couldn't pay, and running from these debts makes you the wrong kind of enemies, the ones who call me." And in the level up you can see that everything turned into chaos and there is fighting everywhere. That's because here they are in Sett's arena, and this part happens after the three storylines meet in the middle. The quote then continues, "Had a feeling there was more going on than a little debt evader. Indari calls these complications. I call them flavor." The more important part here are the two characters behind Samira. You'll see that each of these have their own cards, but you will actually remember these from Samira's story. These are the two who run their little weapon shop and who make all the stylish guns and blades. We'll get to them a little bit later. Samira then also has the All Out card, which says, "Indari's pulled some strings to get us in without a fuss. Here's hoping there'll be time for me to make one on our way out." Of course, you may remember a similar paper to this one from League of Legends. When Sett was first being teased, people could acquire the invitations through playing League of Legends. These were invitations into Sett's fight club, and that's how you used to get Sett for free as a champion. Well, these are the exact same things. If you wanna get into Sett's arena, you need to get the fight club invitation. Now, the second storyline happening here comes from Jack. Jack is a character who you may remember from some of the older cards, and it is theorized that Samira was supposed to collect the debt from him, because he was in Bilgewater and then he traveled out into Ionia, and Samira mentioned that she was collecting it from someone who was running away. But that may not exactly be the truth, because Jack's storyline here starts with a different card. It starts with the mad old Babs, whom I believe was the Croaker in one of the previous cards. Here she says, "Little Jack darling, see here. I find something that interests you, yes?" And as you can see, they stole one of Sett's invitations from an Ionian. This is the reason why Jack decided to travel to the arena in the first place. They actually found the invitation. We can then quickly also show you Jack's ship, called the King's Court. This one is a really cool one because it has a special ability. The quote says, "Jack's personal vessel had borne him and his ilk across Runeterra's waters, from Bilgewater to Ionia. How it travels underneath the water without sinking is anyone's guess, but it's been said that beneath the surface is where the real danger lies." Yes, his ship is also a submarine, which makes sense because the entire crew are fishy people. Anyway, then Jack gets into the arena. "You got to be brave or dumb to stand against me. But either way, the outcome's the same. My advice? Worry about making it out alive. We'll go through all the other cards and you'll see that there is actually a bit more of a storyline. All the followers of the different champions go into the arena one after another, and you can actually see who gets to beat whom. But for now, let's go through the champions first. In Jack's level up, you can see that he gets to fight Sett, the owner of the arena. And the quote of this card comes from Jack's trainer. We'll actually get to see him later. Jack ain't all bad. In fact, the few who had earned his respect might even call him charming, almost decent. But once he gets that blood smell in his nose, well, I don't think there's a more dangerous man alive. And after this, we have the third storyline. Sett, the person who owns the entire arena and who is running this Fight Club event. So Samira is here to collect the debts, Jack is here because they found the invitation and they are here to win money, and Sett is here because he is the owner of the arena, and he fights Jack because the quotes reveal he doesn't recognize Jack, so he knows he wasn't invited. And so he decided to deal with him himself.
Hope you don't mind, Sett. I made myself at home.
Oh, but I do mind.
Anyway, the quote says, basking in the roar of the crowd packed into the exclusive underground arena, Sett indulges in a rare moment of introspection. He remembers all he fought for, and what might yet come his way. He knows one thing for certain though, it's good to be the boss. And in the level up, it is his perspective on his fight against Jack. The problem with being the boss is, for most, you get soft. Your own colossus start healing, and before long you're what you swore you'd never be. So I'm grateful for all this chaos. Finally, someone's bringing the beast out of me. Now, with the 3 storylines settled, we can now go into the followers. Samira will have a crew that Indari got together for her, all of whom are using the Black Rose weapons. Sett will have his own fighters, and Jack will have his own crew. At the bar, you may find the Elegant Edge, who is one of Samira's followers. The quote doesn't really tell you much besides the fact that Samira likes her, so why don't we pay attention to the Boots, who are definitely made for killing, but also she's packing quite a few blades underneath her skirt. And it seems like she is actually fighting the Bull, a character whom you'll see later. We can also mention the Pocket Picker, which is a crewmate on Jack's ship, which really just seems to be a slimy frog that is pretending to be a fishman. I just wanted to show you this one because that's a new one. Then in Sett's arena, Sett does actually have his own accountant. This one is called Lies, and Sett likes him because he is reliable. That's pretty much what the quote is about. And I wonder if this is some really clever and subtle world building happening in the background. Because as you can see, this accountant has multiple arms, a grayish blue skin, and it is working with the Ionian spirits. In my eyes, this is not too different from all the creatures who serve as the deathly spirits. Remember all the things that I thought were Vastaya the first time we saw them? Why is this one so similar? The other ones were also working with spirits. Is Riot trying to troll me? Because now I'm wondering if this is an unmasked version of the other ones. Whatever creature this is. Then we actually get to see one of the people who made Samira's weapons, Lani. The first time we saw her was in one of the concept arts. She was mentioned in Samira's lore a few times, but she never really got time to shine, nor did her partner. But here we finally get to see her in action, using a hammer, which of course they made themselves, and you can even see her having a tattoo of her own shop. I have to say, these two were always really cool side characters, and it is great to actually see them getting some spotlight. Of course, the other person making the weapons is Miel, and here you can see the two setting up a pop-up shop in Sett's arena, which is smart because there are gonna be a bunch of gladiators around them. Of course, those weapons are gonna sell. The quote says, "Setting up shop can be tricky in some places. But with one look at my and Lani's wares, the coin was flying. Didn't see our mark among those pursuing, but plenty others with violence on their minds tonight. After all, finding out who wants to kill who is a decent way to get the lay of the land." Now, the next character in line is Father Fury. This has to be the most badass setup for a mysterious character we ever got. I don't even know what's happening here. I think it's magic. It's just lightning that burned away his flesh and you can see his skeleton. I'm only gonna assume the flesh grows back later. Anyway, here's the quote. Father Fury's origins are as thick as a thundercloud, and even when they have asked, no one's ever heard a straight answer. At least, not one they could hear over the din of his destruction. I don't even have much to say on this one. It's just a really cool new character. We then get to see Jack's closest crew. The first one is Knuckle. Lil Nick here, Lil Slice there, all in good fun. Bit of blood in the water never hurts anybody. Well, not me anyways. Followed by Knuckle, we have Mako. If you wanna piece how the fight goes together, you can actually see that the first one to enter the arena is Sett's fighter, she'll appear a little bit later, and then Mako takes her down. Which is also followed by Bull doing the same. His body is a tapestry of scars and ink telling his brutal legend, but now serves as mentor and sparring partner to Jack. He's saving his last bit of fighting spirit for an opponent worthy enough to merit one last scrap. You can see that Bull has 4 arms and he is missing one of them. And from the quotes in-game, you may learn that he lost one of his arms when fighting Jack.
Hey, Bull, want another swing of the chimp?
I already lost that fight, Jack, and a hand along with it.
Next up, there is Bout Security. These are the people guarding the entrance to the arena, checking if everyone has invitations. And in the back, you can see Samira, who is also trying to get in. But of course, from her, we learned that her agent pulled the strings and it was no issue. Then there is Brazen Buccaneer, who was hired to join Samira on this mission. You can see that she also has a really fancy weapon. And based on what we have learned from Samira, this person just doesn't talk, she only acts. Then there is Dame the Despoiler, who definitely looks like a character from Devil May Cry, and who is jumping in first to start a little bit of a chaos in the arena. Again, there is not much to say about this one, but the weapon is certainly really cool. There's also Dashing Dandy, who also joins in the arena and who is also on Samira's side. However, this one is actually very familiar with Sett, and based on the in-game quotes, he gets a bit nervous when he learns that Sett is present. Also, the quote of the card is how he's laughing that nobody will be able to touch him, only for him to get immediately smacked down by the pit professional. You can see that this is the last one to get into the pit, because in the background you can see that Jack is the next one to go in. The next really cool new character is Inferna. Based on the weapon, she is also one of Samira's crewmates, and it seems like she is burning down Jack's ship, which again may hint that they are actually collecting the debt from Jack. There's also the Smooth Mixologist, who is pouring drinks for our 2 weaponsmiths. Then there is Master Bingwen, who is supposed to be a veteran of the fighting arena. He was a really good fighter in the past, but he retired and now he is looking out for talents. That's really what his character is all about. And all of this is then capped off with the highest cost card of this expansion. The most powerful of them all, the Old Timer. A mysterious fighter who seems to be approached by Samira. So who knows, maybe they are trying to collect the debt from him. Or Jack's crewmate who is getting beaten up. That doesn't really matter. Let's go through the quote first. The mask's not coming off, girl. And unless you wanna end up looking like this thing, don't ask again. See, based on this alone, we wouldn't really know much about this character. It's a mysterious fighter, he looks like one of the Mexican wrestlers, but he insists on keeping his mask on. Well, it just so happens to be that all the massive teasers come from his quotes. Especially when he's talking to Sett.
Why'd you let him call you that? Beast Boy bastard.
They don't call me that. They call me boss.
Didn't your ma ever tell you not to slouch?
And what would you know about my ma?
Can't seem to train that arrogance out of him, can you?
He must have taken after his father. Does Noxus send all its fighters so dressed?
I wouldn't know. I'm not fighting for Noxus.
Yes, if you put all the hints together, it seems like this guy may be Sett's father. In case you don't remember, Sett's father is a mysterious figure. It was a Noxian soldier who got together with a Vastayan woman, and after the invasion of Ionia was over, that man disappeared. All we know is that he was a powerful fighter, hence why Sett is who he is. And this guy matches everything perfectly. Even the last quote hints that he is a Noxian, but he's not fighting for Noxus. This falls in line with the fact that he was a Noxian who actually didn't mind Ionians. His equipment also has elements from the Noxian military, for example his gloves and his belt, but his mask seems to be made to throw people off. If he was just a man, then the ears would be fake, so that he could hide his identity even from Sett. And also based on the quotes, Sett has no idea. It doesn't seem like he's even suspicious, which makes this all the better. This is not confirmed, but it seems likely that the old-timer is actually Sett's father in the hiding. And since Riot is trying to get everything together and make everything canon again, I wonder what Riot is gonna do with this guy next. And there you have it, the grand reveal from this expansion. I have to say, even though these cards are nothing grand, it is still cool that they managed to pull off a really cool lore reveal. And it was done without the use of massive paragraphs of stories, which I know a lot of people do appreciate. However, we still kinda need a confirmation that this is actually canon. It seems like lately Legends of Runeterra is trying to make sure that everything inside the game is canon, despite what happened in the past, so maybe we'll get there. But yeah, that was the new lore of Sett's missing father, right after the new lore of Gale's missing mother. At the current pace, Yasuo's father is next, right?